luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China. Turns out your quote-unquote made in Italy luxury handbag might have more ties to Chinese factories than to Tuscan.
The bag may say made in Italy, but it's quite possible that only the clasp was attached in Italy. The rest of the bag was made in China.
What if I told you that your $1,000 Louis Vuitton bag might come from the same Chinese factories making $30 knockoffs? That's not just a rumor. It's the wildfire spreading across TikTok right now. A factory worker in China recently dropped a bombshell video, and it exploded online faster than any dance challenge. In this viral clip, the worker casually reveals that luxury giants like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Prada have been sourcing the bulk of their handbags, shoes, and accessories straight from Chinese factories.
China makes 80% of your designer bags.
Who's the Chinese supplier behind Under Armour? Shenzhou International. Nike shoes from China to your country?
The very same factories that also sell direct to consumers, cutting out the middleman. For years, customers believed in the dream Louis Vuitton sold: handcrafted luxury, stitched with care in elegant European workshops. But the video peeled back the curtain, exposing that over 80% of luxury leather goods are actually produced in China. That number alone sent shockwaves through loyal buyers who had trusted in the Made in Europe label. Suddenly, the aura of exclusivity crumbled. If your purse is mass-produced in a factory overseas, is it really worth the $2,000 price tag?
Do you know that more than 80% of the luxury leather products, like handbags, purses, and shoes of Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, Coach, Prada, you name it, most of them are made in China?
The fallout was instant. Social media exploded with outrage, memes, and heated debates. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter were flooded with clips of people storming Louis Vuitton stores, demanding answers. For many, it wasn't just about the manufacturing location. It was about trust, brand identity, and the feeling of being lied to. Luxury wasn't supposed to be mass market, yet the viral video revealed a billion-dollar illusion crumbling before our eyes. As the TikTok leaks spread like wildfire, the next shocking detail hit even harder: the actual cost to produce a Louis Vuitton bag. According to factory insiders, a bag that sells for $2,000 or more in stores costs around $15 to make. Let that sink in for a second.
Are the suppliers behind the Salomon, Timberland, New Balance, Adidas, Nike, First, 稻城 factory.
It's not just calling them out, they're showing the world exactly where your $1,000 handbag or your $100 leggings are really being made.
What's fueling the jaw-dropping price tag? It's not rare materials or artisan craftsmanship. It's the luxury label slapped on at the end. For years, Louis Vuitton built its reputation on European sophistication, promising customers handcrafted excellence. But what the viral exposé revealed is that most of the production happens in China. By the time these bags reach Europe, only minor finishing touches or packaging are done to justify the coveted Made in France or Made in Italy label. And, in reality, buyers are paying thousands not for superior materials, but for the illusion of exclusivity. Understandably, customers feel betrayed. It's not just about geography. It's about deception. When you drop thousands on a luxury item, you expect transparency, quality, and rarity, not a mass-produced piece indistinguishable from a knockoff. That's why furious buyers have flooded social media, sharing their own horror stories and calling out the brand.
You know how much one of these bags costs at boutique? Let me tell you, 30,000 USD. And do you know how much it costs from us? If you buy from us, only less than 1/10.
Suddenly, owning an LV bag went from a symbol of status to a public embarrassment, with many questioning if they were paying for craftsmanship or simply corporate greed. The drama didn't stop with a single TikTok video. It was just the start of China's bold counterstrike in a brewing trade war, which the US imposed tough tariffs hoping to pressure China economically. China didn't just sit back. Instead, they clapped back in a way no one saw coming. By pulling back the curtain on global manufacturing, Chinese factories began openly revealing the supply chains behind some of the world's most elite brands: Louis Vuitton, Nike, Adidas, Chanel, exposing how dependent Western companies are on Chinese labor and production. TikTok quickly became the main battleground. Factory workers and suppliers used the platform to show behind-the-scenes footage, offer factory direct sales, and name the big brands sourcing from them.
A slowdown and a contraction in the global luxury market. About 50 million people either opted out or were forced out of the luxury market over the past 2 years.
For everyday shoppers, it was like watching the magician reveal all his tricks. Suddenly, luxury didn't feel so mysterious or exclusive. It felt mass-produced and painfully ordinary. What's even more explosive is that some Chinese suppliers started offering the exact same goods directly to consumers. No middleman, no markup, no fancy boutiques. That meant buyers could now get their hands on a luxury bag for a fraction of the price, straight from the source. For Louis Vuitton, this wasn't just an image problem, it was an economic threat. The illusion of scarcity, the idea that LV bags are rare and hard to get, began to collapse. And as China leaned in harder, the balance of power in the luxury world started to shift in ways no one expected. As if the leaks weren't damaging enough, Louis Vuitton made a bold and arguably disastrous move that poured gasoline on the fire.
I feel people started to get tired of purchasing products and realized that we just bought too much, and it didn't really make us happier.
While rival brands like Hermes at least gave customers a polite heads up before raising prices, Louis Vuitton decided to play it sneaky. Without a press release, email, or social media post, they quietly increased prices by 3% to 6% across the board. Bags, perfumes, wallets, all suddenly cost more. Customers only realized the jump when they hit the cash register, stunned to see their usual LV perfume now priced $40 higher overnight. This wasn't the first time Louis Vuitton pulled a fast one. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when most people were stuck at home cutting back on spending, LV saw an opportunity to cash in. Blaming broken supply chains and rising material costs, they raised prices even as customers were pinching pennies. But here's the kicker. It's 2025 now, the pandemic's long over, and supply chains have largely stabilized. So what's the excuse this time? For many shoppers, this price hike feels like pure arrogance.
Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so expensive.
4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag. This that you've just seen, the perlage, you need to be very skilled and very
Louis Vuitton is banking on the idea that its name alone is enough to keep customers loyal, even as costs rise in secret. And honestly, they may not be wrong, at least not yet. There's a certain kind of shopper who craves the status, the logo, the clout, and doesn't care where the bag is made or how much it costs. But for others, this sneaky price hike feels like the ultimate slap in the face. A sign that Louis Vuitton sees its loyal buyers not as valued customers, but as wallets to be drained. Just when people thought things couldn't get messier, Louis Vuitton went on the attack legally. In a move that shocked both insiders and consumers, LV, along with Hermes, launched massive lawsuits against some of their own longtime manufacturers. The brands claimed these factories had leaked trade secrets, violated NDAs, and even flooded the market with near-perfect fakes. According to insiders, some manufacturers were allegedly pulling double duty, producing official Louis Vuitton bags by day and cranking out knockoffs after hours, using the exact same materials and machinery. From Louis Vuitton's perspective, this was about protecting the brand's reputation and fighting back against what they called false and damaging claims. But here's where things get tricky. Despite all the lawsuits, LV and other luxury giants have offered little to no proof to back their side of the story. Meanwhile, Chinese companies have been providing detailed lists of factories, supply chains, and even tutorials on how to spot made-in-China products. As the lawsuits escalated, the public started asking uncomfortable questions. If Louis Vuitton has nothing to hide, why not just show the factories, the workers, the process, like Ferrari or Lamborghini proudly do with their assembly lines? The silence from luxury brands only fueled suspicions that they were scrambling to cover up an industry-wide secret. To many, the lawsuits looked less like a confident defense and more like a desperate attempt to control a story that was already spiraling out of their hands. As the lawsuits played out, the cracks in the luxury facade widened, and fast. Customers weren't just upset about factories or price hikes. They were questioning the entire meaning of luxury. For decades, brands like Louis Vuitton have sold more than products. They've sold a dream. They built empires on ideas of exclusivity, craftsmanship, and European heritage. But with Chinese factories now pulling back the curtain, that illusion is unraveling right in front of our eyes. Shoppers are no longer satisfied with vague promises or glossy ad campaigns. They want transparency, proof of where and how their luxury items are made. But while Chinese manufacturers are boldly sharing factory details, vendor lists, and even teaching people how to buy directly from China, Louis Vuitton and other brands have largely stayed silent, and that silence speaks volumes. On social media, the conversation has shifted. It's no longer just, "Did you hear LV bags are made in China?" It's, "What even makes this bag worth thousands anymore?" With every viral post and exposé, the gap between brand image and reality widens. Even the most loyal customers are starting to question whether they've been paying for craftsmanship or just clever marketing. And as more factory workers come forward, insiders warn this could just be the tip of the iceberg. What's at stake isn't just Louis Vuitton's reputation. It's the entire foundation of what we call luxury in the modern world. As the chaos deepened, rumors began swirling that even Louis Vuitton's legendary CEO, Bernard Arnault, might not survive the storm. Arnault, one of the world's richest men and the powerhouse behind luxury giant LVMH, had long promised to remain at the helm until he was at least 85. But now, at 76, insiders whisper that his early exit may be on the horizon, and not by choice. The combination of exploding scandals, trade war tensions, and collapsing consumer trust has sent shockwaves through the company. To make matters worse, LVMH's stock has taken a massive hit. In a single day, over $9 billion was wiped from Arnault's fortune, as the company's shares plummeted more than 7% following a disappointing first-quarter sales report. Investors, once confident in the untouchable dominance of LVMH, are now rattled. And for Arnault, the man who built his empire on prestige, image, and exclusivity, the damage is more than just financial. It's personal. What's fascinating is how fast the downfall is unfolding. For years, Arnault and LVMH seemed invincible, riding high above economic downturns, fashion trends, and corporate scandals. But the TikTok-fueled factory leaks have exposed a vulnerability no one expected. As customers question the very meaning of luxury, and China continues to pull the strings behind the scenes, even the most powerful names in fashion are being forced to confront a harsh reality. Reputation built over decades can crumble in weeks. And at the center of it all, Arnault is left facing a legacy suddenly in jeopardy. With the luxury world in chaos, the big question is, what's next? Will brands like Louis Vuitton adapt to survive? Or will the entire industry collapse under the weight of its exposed secrets? Right now, the luxury sector faces a reckoning unlike anything it's seen before. Buyers are no longer content with a label. They want transparency, authenticity, and proof that their $3,000 handbag is more than just a fancy logo. The old formula, slap on a European label, tell a romantic story, and watch the money pour in, isn't working like it used to. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The stigma around made in China is starting to fade. For decades, luxury buyers turned up their noses at Chinese manufacturing, associating it with cheap, low-quality goods. But as China's factories reveal their true role, not just in fast fashion, but at the top of the luxury chain, that perception is shifting. More and more consumers are realizing that the Made in France or Made in Italy stamp might be little more than marketing spin. Industry insiders warn that if Louis Vuitton and its rivals don't get ahead of this narrative, they could lose an entire generation of buyers. Gen Z and millennials value authenticity over image, and they're not afraid to call out brands that fall short. Will luxury giants own up, pull back the curtain, and rebuild trust? Or will they double down on secrecy, hoping the storm passes? One thing's for sure, the luxury industry is at a crossroads, and the next moves these brands make could redefine what luxury even means in a world that's no longer buying the fantasy. So here we are, a luxury industry shaken to its core, a public no longer willing to blindly believe the fantasy, and brands like Louis Vuitton scrambling to protect their legacy. What started as a single viral TikTok video has now exploded into a global reckoning over what we really pay for when we buy luxury. Is it craftsmanship? Rarity? Or is it just a carefully crafted illusion? sold to us at 10, 20, even 50 times the actual cost. What's even more fascinating is how the power dynamic has shifted. For the first time, consumers hold the upper hand. With every factory leak, every exposed price hike, and every lawsuit that hits the headlines, shoppers are arming themselves with knowledge, and brands can no longer hide behind polished ad campaigns or empty promises. People are questioning, why pay thousands for a bag when the same factory is selling it for a fraction of the price online? And why should we trust a brand that won't show us the very workers who make the products we're told to treasure? Louis Vuitton and its rivals now face a choice: come clean and rebuild trust, or watch the empire crack from the inside out. And let's not forget, China has made it clear they're just getting started. More leaks, more whistleblowers, and more uncomfortable truths are likely on the horizon. The luxury world is changing fast, and the brands that survive will be the ones that adapt, not the ones clinging to the past. So here's the real question: does luxury still mean anything if the magic is gone? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand, and if you thought this was wild, just wait for what's coming next.